Today we are talking about 7-4, wrong button, there we go. This is called roots to polynomials, and reminder, roots are the same thing as zeros. I'll write that out one good time. Given 3 and -7 are roots of a polynomial, write the equation of the original polynomial. So first we take the roots, which are also zeros, interchangeable terms here. And our numbers are 3 and -7. So what you do is you write those out as x equals those numbers. So x equals 3 and x equals -7. And the goal is to recreate the original equation that those two numbers came from. So we're essentially going to be going backwards from everything we've done up to this point. The first thing we want to do is turn these into factors. Factors are where you just have x plus the number or x minus the number. We need to get this equal to 0. So normally the goal is to get x by itself. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to have the number come over here and join x on the left side. And we'll do that using our usual algebra steps. So here we have +3. I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. That will give me x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then I'll do the same thing with the -7. It's negative, so I'll add 7 to both sides. And we get x plus 7 equals 0. So these cancel out. Make sure you do the opposite sign. Now these are written as factors. I can put parentheses around to demonstrate that. X minus 3 and x plus 7. What we do next is we take these two factors and we're going to multiply them together. That's how we're going to get back to that original polynomial equation. So we have x minus 3 and x plus 7. I'm going to bring both of those down. And then I'll rewrite that to do my actual work with it. X minus 3. X plus 7. To multiply these back together, we are going to FOIL. When we FOIL, we start with that first x and we're going to multiply it into that second set of parentheses, multiply it by both terms. X times x, be careful here, that gives me x squared. We are multiplying, or we multiply the x's, we add the exponents. X times 7, that's positive 7x. And then we'll repeat that with the -3. And make sure you go in the order that I'm showing you, that will give you the best answer. -3 times x, that's -3x. -3 times 7, that's -21. When you FOIL, you will always end up with like terms, so check for that. If you do it in the correct order, the middle two can be combined. So we have x squared, 7x minus 3x, that's positive 4x, -21 at the end. This is our answer. That is our polynomial. And that's the process we're going to follow each time. Questions on the process? I'm going to do two more. They're going to look a tad different, but the process will be exactly the same. Number 2, write an equation for a polynomial with roots 2, -5, and 1. So we start with our roots. X equals 2, x equals -5, x equals 1. We want to turn them into factors, so we need to move the numbers over to the left side by taking their opposites. This is +2, so I'll subtract 2 on both sides. This is -5, so I add 5 on both sides. This is +1, so I subtract 1 on both sides. That's going to give me x minus 2 is equal to 0. Let's cancel out. X plus 5 is equal to 0. Oh, he's not here today. He went home actually. Thank you. And x minus 1 is equal to 0. Always take the opposite sign there. So now these are written as factors. And now we can take all 3 of these out of their equations and just FOIL them together. So we have x plus 2, x plus 5, x minus 1. Sorry, x minus 2. Let me change that real quick. If I make a mistake like that, someone tell me. I caught it pretty quickly, but just an FYI, because that's going to mess up a lot here. Okay, x minus 2, x plus 5, x minus 1. Good. And now we FOIL. When you have 3 things to FOIL, so more than 2 things to FOIL, you can't just FOIL all of that at once. It's not possible. It will not give you the correct answer. You have to do these 2 things at a time. So you pick 2 of those to FOIL together, and then we'll go from there. For me, I think visually it is more appealing to do the back 2 first. Once we get whatever this is, then we'll distribute the x minus 2 into there. You're welcome to do the front 2 first if you want, but this is just how I always do it. But regardless, the rule is choose 2. When you do this step, choose 2 of them. And as I've already said, for me, I like to choose the back 2. I'm going to multiply those together. So I'll go ahead and bring down that x minus 2. It's just going to hang out for a bit. And then I will multiply these 2 together, FOIL. X plus 5 times x minus 1. We distribute the x first into that second set of parentheses. X times x, that's x squared. X times -1, that's -1x. And now we FOIL with the 5. It's a positive 5. 5 times x, that's positive 5x. 5 times -1, that's -5. From here, some students go straight into distributing the x minus 2 in here. That's an option, but I always recommend go ahead and combine these like terms first. It's going to save you a bit of work, and it's going to look a little less crazy. So I'm going to take a moment and combine these 2 terms, -1 and positive 5x. We get x minus 2 times x squared. -1 plus 5, that's positive 4x minus 5. And now I will FOIL again. Now technically, if you follow the exact letters, FOIL first, outside, inside, last, that won't work because that second set of parentheses has too many terms in it. But the process is still going to be the same. I'm going to distribute the x through here and then the -2 through here. Just want to make that clarification. So we'll distribute the x into here. It'll go out 3 times this time, since there are 3 terms to multiply by. X times x squared, be careful, we are adding exponents here. So this becomes x cubed. X times 4x, that becomes positive 4x squared. Don't forget to add the exponents. X times negative 5, that's negative 5x. And then we do that again with the negative 2. Negative 2 times x squared, that's just negative 2x squared. Put them together. Negative 2 times 4x, that's negative 8x. Negative 2 times negative 5, that's positive 10. From here, we have several like terms to combine. To keep track of them, I'm going to put this in standard form as I go. So I'm going to start by seeking out the highest term and then go from there. And then I will cross terms out as I use them so that I can clearly see what's left behind to use. So first big term is the x cubed. That's where I'm going to start. And there are no other x cubes. This is my first term. Done with it, so I'll cross it out. Next, the x squareds. I've got 2 of them. I have 4x squared and negative 2x squared, so I'll combine those. 4 minus 2, that's positive 2x squared. And I'm done with those, so I'll cross them out. Next, we have negative 5x and negative 8x. Negative 5 minus 8, that's negative 13x. I'm done with those, so I'll cross them out. Lastly, I've got that plus 10 at the end, so I'll just bring it down. There are no terms left. They've all been combined. It's in standard form. This is my answer. By the way, when you do your own work on the study guide, on the test, I don't expect you to write all these steps out. I don't think it would hurt to at least write these 2 out, just so we're making sure we're going from one thing to the next correctly. After that, just do the work. That's just my opinion, though. As long as you show the work and get the right answer, it's fine with me. Last problem. This one looks a little tougher, but this one will actually be easier and quicker than the previous problem. Write an equation for a polynomial with roots of 0, 6, and negative 2. So first, let's write them as just roots. We have x equals 0, x equals 6, and x equals negative 2 to start. Now that x equals 0 throws off a lot of students, but don't overcomplicate it. To turn them into factors, we want these all equal to 0. This one's already equal to 0, so we don't touch it. It just stays as is for now. The other 2 we need to get equal to 0. This is positive 6, so I'll subtract 6 on both sides. Negative 2, so I'll add 2 on both sides. Like I said, this one's already taken care of, so we just have x equals 0. Next one, we have x minus 6 equals 0. These numbers cancel. And x plus 2 equals 0. These numbers cancel. My factors are the terms equal to 0. So it's just x by itself in parentheses. No issues with that. That'll be easy to multiply later. So now we have factors. And we need to get factors before we can continue. Now that we have factors, we'll write them all together to multiply. We have x minus 6, x plus 2. And from here we FOIL. Again, choose 2. We have 3 things to multiply here. We can only do 2 at a time. You can't do them all at once. That'll be wrong. Just like before, my preference is to do the back two visually. That just looks like it makes more sense. So we're going to multiply the back two. X is just going to come down for now and just kind of hang out until we're ready to take care of that. And we'll FOIL x minus 6 into x plus 2. Do the x first. X times x is x squared. X times 2x, sorry, x times 2 is 2x. And then we FOIL with the negative 6. Distribute. Negative 6 times x, that's negative 6x. Negative 6 times 2, that's negative 12. Again, go ahead and combine like terms before you do anything else. It'll make your work easier, quicker. In the middle, we have 2x and negative 6x. Those can be combined. X squared, 2 minus 6 is negative 4. X minus 12. From here, we just have x times this whole thing. So this is actually distribution. Distribute x. So that's all we're doing at this step. So it's just one time through with the x. So we have x times x squared. Again, be careful. We're adding the exponents here. This is x cubed. X times negative 4x, that's negative 4x squared. X times negative 12, just put them together, negative 12x. Since I combined like terms earlier, I don't have anything else to do. This is my polynomial. There you have it.